Nice throw!
Transformers, what a legendary brand of toys. From its humble beginnings in 1984 to the present day, it has constantly evolved, changing designs, releasing numerous shows, and even giving us some live action movies of very varying quality.
Yikes.
But despite it all, the brand has remained a staple in pop culture. My exposure to Transformers isn't as deep as other franchises such as Marvel, Star Wars, or even DC, but I've watched a fair chunk of the animated shows. I've seen bits of the 80s cartoon, Transformers Prime, a great one by the way, and you should watch it, and of course the Unicorn trilogy from the early 2000s. So while I've experienced the shows, I haven't really delved much into the games until now, and there are a lot of Transformers games. Some good, some not so good, and some just outright bad. After the success of Transformers Armada and right before Transformers Energon hit the TV screens, we got a PlayStation 2 game to fill the gap. Transformers the game. Just Transformers the game. And I must ask, why no subtitle? Just Transformers? They couldn't call it anything else besides that? But that's the setup out the way. Let's roll out and see how this game holds up 20 years on, and make sure to subscribe and like, or Megatron will, and I repeat, will shoot you in the face. This is Transformers the game for PlayStation 2. And there's no better place to start than the story. Spoiler alert, though honestly there's not much to spoil. This is probably the simplest plot I've had to summarize in a review so far.
You jumped the gun again.
The game kicks off with a quick introduction about a rare race of Transformers known as the Minicons. Small scale Transformers that grant bigger Transformers special abilities when merged together.
It's over 9,000!
A million years ago, the Minicons were fleeing Cybertron and escaped to Earth. Cut to the present day, where the Great War between the Autobots and the Decepticons rages on, with Optimus Prime leading the Autobots, while Megatron commands the Decepticons.
We are doomed.
During a one-on-one fight between Prime and Megatron, a distress beacon from Earth suddenly activates, alerting both factions of the Minicon's presence on Earth. In typical gotta-catch-them-all fashion, Megatron and his army rush to Earth to capture them. Meanwhile, Optimus, Red Alert, and Hotshot return to their HQ and prepare to use the space bridge to stop the Decepticons from getting their greedy purple claws on these little guys. It's a simple setup, but it works. Also, do the Minicons have a choice in this? I feel like this is a potential court case waiting to happen back on Cybertron. From here, the story takes a really straightforward path. The Autobots travel across Earth, rescuing as many Minicons as possible. Their first stop is the Amazon, where they encounter Cyclonus, who promptly sends an absolute unit of a Decepticlone to fight them, and after taking it down, the Autobots discover 3 Minicons hidden in the bushes: Sparkplug, Jolt, and Longarm. One of them looks suspiciously like Bumblebee, legally distinct though, the best kind of distinct. Afterwards, they manage to send a distress signal to other Minicons on Earth. Our next stop is Antarctica, where on the search for more Minicons, they run into Starscream.
Prepare for extermination!
Dude, Starscream, chill man. And after thoroughly walloping him, the Autobots leave to return to the Amazon. By the way, Starscream isn't dead.
I'm not dead!
Back to the Amazon they go, hunting down Cyclonus. After trekking through the deserted jungle, the Autobots arrive at an ancient pyramid, and out of nowhere, Cyclonus attacks.
Stop wincing!
Here comes the spinning.
But Cyclonus is ultimately defeated, crashing into the pyramid.
I'll try spinning. That's a good trick.
With the Amazon chapter wrapped up, well, not for Amazon Prime that is, wink wink, but there's no time to rest, as a key Decepticlone battleship is making its way to the Atlantic Ocean, and the Autobots are hot on its trail. Upon arrival, they discover the massive battleship in question. Using the Glide Minicon, they board the ship and make their way to the control room, only to realize its actual destination is Alaska. But before they can take control, the warship reveals its true form. It's not just a ship, it's a Titan Decepticon, tidal wave to be more accurate.
Fuck.
After a grueling battle, the Titan is finally taken down.
Big bastard.
Next stop, Alaska. Red Alert suspects the Decepticon base is actually here. The Autobots climb to the top of the mountain only to find Starscream already there with a massive warship. Alright, picture this in this scenario. Starscream has the high ground in a giant warship, and below him is his sworn enemy. What does he do? Option A, send out an army of Decepticlones. B, fire the ship's lasers and obliterate them. Or C, ram the entire fucking ship into them like a complete idiot. If you said option C, congratulations, you win absolutely nothing. Yes, this is actually what Starscream chooses. What a fucking dumbass. The Autobots fight their way into the ship, heading straight for the cockpit, where they find Starscream. But before they can stop him, Starscream lets out a massive laser blast, sending the entire ship crashing head first into the ground. With the ship now completely upside down and wrecked, Starscream Megatron can't claim this on the insurance, bruv. The Autobots crawl out only to be met by none other than King Dumbass himself.
I'll rip out your optics.
After wiping the floor with Mr. Stupid over here, they hack into his system and finally uncover Megatron's final base, a volcanic island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Landing on the island and fighting for a massive Decepticon army, the Autobots make their way up to the top of the volcano, where they finally come face to face with the big bad himself, Megatron. The battle is brutal, but eventually Megatron falls, but the volcano erupts and the battlefield completely collapses beneath them. Prime does try to save Megatron, but as he plummets into the lava, Prime lets him go, and just like that, Megatron is gone for good.
I'm done saving you.
For now, anyway. I mean, I'm sure he'll pop up again somewhere. It's fucking Megatron.
I'm back, bitches!
So, the Decepticons are defeated. That's it, right? Game over?
The answer is yes and no.
Because, surprise, the real final boss isn't Megatron. It's the planet-eating cosmic horror on Cybertron himself, Unicron. Now, it's a desperate race to collect some more minicons because, well, let's be honest, there's no way you're fighting our favorite Horn Death planet without some serious firepower behind them.
It's the devil.
And once they've gathered enough minicons, 30 to be precise because video game logic, the Autobots return home for one final battle, and with the power of the minicons unleashed and behind them, they take on Unicron, and after enough damage, Unicron, the planet-sized little menace he is, explodes. The day is saved and the Cybertronian War is finally over, and the celebrations begin. Well, not for the minicons because who gets custody of them?
Why couldn't I use it?
So how does this game handle the Transformers storyline? Honestly, not that bad. It doesn't try to overcomplicate things. If you want a more deep, lore-heavy Transformers storytelling, the War for Cybertron and Fall for Cybertron games have you covered in that regard. But this game, it sticks to the basics. Autobots and Decepticons fighting over minicons to gain power. No filler, just straight to the action. And the best of all, no annoying human characters. 5-star for that alone. If you've ever seen a Transformers show or movie, you'll pick up on the story instantly. But as the great Stan Lee once said, every comic book is someone's first issue. And while this is a game, obviously not a comic book, it would have been nice to get a little bit more backstory on the war and why the minicons are so important besides, well, just Megatron wants them for evil. The campaign itself lasts for about 6 hours, which isn't too bad, but some extra character development would have been nice. What's interesting is the characters in this game act more like their Generation 1 counterparts rather than the Armada counterparts. That was probably intentional to appeal to older Transformers fans, since on a visual level they don't resemble the G1 designs at all, but they act more like their Generation 1 counterparts. An odd decision, but I understand in the grand scheme of things why they decided to do this. Appeal to the widest audience possible, not just the smallest one. So yeah, plot-wise, not bad. A forgettable story, but nothing terrible or nothing offensive. Now, onto the gameplay, brother.
I'll get you for that.
All right, the heavyweight champion of the world.
Now that we tackled the plot, let's talk about how the game plays. In a nutshell, it's a mixed bag. At its core, it's a classic third-person shooter, but with a twist. You can switch to a zoom mode by pressing L3, and of course you can transform. You have 3 Autobots to choose from: Optimus Prime, Red Alert, and Hotshot. It's a shame there's only 3 options to choose from, and let's be honest, Hotshot? Who even remembers this guy? Each Autobot has different stats of strength, power, speed, and defense. I'll be honest, for most of my playthrough, I stuck with Prime, because why wouldn't you want to be Optimus fucking Prime in a Transformers game?
I thought you were made of sterner stuff.
Oh yeah!
So what's the main goal of this game? Well, to collect as many minicons as possible, which means get ready for a lot of traveling across the earth. Wow, so basically the Autobots are basically the robot version of a Pokemon trainer. The game does have a nice variation of locations, from the Amazon jungle to Alaska to a volcanic island, and of course,
Space!
With this being a Transformers game, the two main gimmicks are, of course, transforming by switching between robot mode and vehicle mode with a simple press of the triangle button. One thing I absolutely love and is so satisfying in this game is running over the enemies. That feels so good. And of course, the minicon weapons you collect throughout the game. You start the game with a standard blaster, but as you go about the game, you collect more minicons throughout the adventure, which turn into weapons. The basic blaster is okay, but you can quickly get that swapped out for different types of minicons. Rocket launchers, lasers, sniper rifles, glide boosters. You can equip up to 4 minicons at once, and if you match 2 of the same color, you get a health boost. But you can't overload your power levels with too many high level minicons, which to be fair would probably break the game in half.
This is too much power for one person.
Most of the minicons are useful and very fun, with my personal favourites being the sniper, glide and electrical laser minicons. Now we go on to the bad stuff with the gameplay. Now here's where some pet peeves are going to kick in. Level, situational gimmicks. Some levels like the ship mission or the island require specific minicons just to progress within the level itself. I hate this kind of game design. Why not just make a high jump a standard ability instead of wasting a minicon slot on it?
So stupid.
And speaking of jumping, oh boy, the platforming in this game is rough, dog rough. I get it, these are big heavy robot lads, but trying to nail precise jumps is pure frustration incarnate. Go play the mountain climbing mission and come back and talk to me of how joyful this platforming is. Aside from the weapons, you also have a good punch combo, or as I like to call it, the bitch slap headbutt combo. Slapping an enemy into a wall? Very good. And speaking of enemies, there is a lot of enemy types in this game. Small units, heavy units, jetpack enemies, enemies with swords, ones that look straight out of Star Wars. No, seriously, I'm not joking. We've got Decepticons with laser swords like lightsabers, and Droideka like shield wands. But to be fair, there's a real effort into the enemy variation, which keeps the combat really engaging.
Master, destroy us!
But the real enemy of Transformers the game is not Megatron, not Starscream, not Cyclonus, not any Decepticon, or even Unicron himself. No, the biggest enemy in this game is the flipping camera. Oh my god, the camera in this game is awful. It's not too bad when you're just jumping, but in combat, oh god, it refuses to focus on one enemy at a time, which means there are constant times you need to readjust it to focus on one enemy. And if you're in the middle of a punch combo, you'll automatically just like stop punching. Like, what happened here? And it wouldn't be so bad if you just took on one enemy at a time. However, in this game, you constantly get dogpiled by every single living robot possible, leading to a lot of frustrating deaths. Now, let's break down the boss fights. In total, this game has about 6 boss fights. The heavy unit lad at the start, who's basically the tutorial boss. Starscream, twice, because why not? Tidal Wave, Cyclonus, Megatron, and Unicron, who's the final boss fight. Let's start with the heavy unit, or as I call him, the joke boss fight. This fight is laughably easy, just run in circles. In fact, it's so easy, he basically becomes the basic enemy later on. How embarrassing. Then there's Starscream, twice. Don't know, maybe someone on the devs team was a big fan of Starscream? I don't know. Both fights are very similar. Attacking while he's in jet mode, dodge his hyperspeed sword attacks. Someone's been watching The Flash. Hopefully not that god-awful movie, but not a bad boss fight. Fun, energetic, and quick. Then we have Cyclonus, who starts off by yeeting you off the side of the temple, which is both hilarious and an awesome visual. It's very similar to the Starscream fights, to be honest. Attacking while he's in his helicopter mode and avoid him when he's on the ground. Similar, but still fun.
No, 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 no!
Then we have the big bad Megatron. Definitely more challenging than the others, but still manageable. Just dodge his laser attacks and missile rain, and you're golden. And avoid him just running at you in point blank. That is fucking terrifying. The final boss is actually surprisingly easy. You'd expect Unicron, you know, the planet-eating Transformer, to be an absolute nightmare of boss fight. Instead, I'll be brutally honest, this was one of the easiest fights in the entire game. But of course, the camera decides to sabotage you one last time. That's the real enemy of this fight. But it's a fun one nevertheless. But you notice how I've missed someone off of this fight list. Well, I've saved the best and the hardest boss fight of this game to last, Tidal Wave. Before we talk about the boss fight itself, let's appreciate how insane this fight looks. This is straight out of God of War or Shadow of the Colossus. One moment you're on the boat and next thing, holy shit, what am I supposed to do to beat this thing? The fight itself? Well, you need to shoot him in the head. Sounds easy, right? Nah, bro. Not even close. He unleashed unleashes a furious storm of rockets, gunfire, forcing you to use cover constantly. You can destroy his turrets, but there will be more Decepticons spawning from him. It's a fair challenge, but it does take a fucking long while to take him down. However, it's worth it just to see him fall into the ocean.
Yeah, buddy. It's on now.
Overall, the gameplay is solid, with a few frustrating issues, mainly the camera. The boss fights are pretty well designed and test what you've learned throughout the game so far. Now on to the presentation. How does this look for a PlayStation 2 title? Well, the game dropped in 2004, right in the middle of the golden era of the PlayStation 2. Visually though, it holds up well. The character designs are bright, colourful and pop nicely against the environment. See, I'm kind of mixed on the overall character designs though. The Autobots designs I really like. The Decepticon designs, not so much. Take Megatron for example. I mean, his giant horns on his head just make him look ridiculous. But the levels themselves are very detailed and vibrant, especially for a PlayStation 2 title. One thing I do really appreciate is that the Decepticons all have unique designs and they stand out really well. Now, if there's one thing this game absolutely nails, it's the sound design. The blaster sounds, crisp, beautiful. The explosions, satisfying. The Minicon weapons sound powerful as hell and sound absolutely brilliant. And the soundtrack, the soundtrack has a banger score. And the boss themes are even better. Some of my favorite standout tracks are Cyclonus' boss theme, Starscream's boss theme, Unicron's boss theme. These are really good and well worth a listen. It is a very heavy metal rock soundtrack, which I'm kind of totally biased towards, but I don't care. When a game nails rock music well, I love it. Even if the game sucks, if the music's great, it helps a lot. Plus, I think I've just found some new songs for my gym playlist. So, how's the voice acting? It's a bit of a mixed bag. Optimus and Megatron, however, are fantastic. Gary Chalk and David Kay do a fantastic job with their respective characters. I know everybody loves Peter Cullen and Frank Welker, but Chalk and Kay are worthy successors. Kay's Megatron is smooth, menacing, and just pure badass, whereas Chalk's Prime is like the Generation 1 version, but with his own little twist on it. Everyone else in the voice cast? Not even close. The worst one, though, is easily Starscream's voice. That voice does not suit him at all. It's quite jarring.
Starscream, I want Megatron.
Get in line.
Where is he?
Find him yourself.
So yeah, presentation wise the game looks solid, sounds amazing, and has some good performances. So final verdict, how does this game hold up over 20 years later? Honestly, pretty damn well. Let's start off with the good. Solid gameplay, a really fun third-person shooting experience, and some good transforming mechanics. The game has some good visuals, and still holds up for a PlayStation 2 game. And some absolutely kick-ass rock music. And it's got a bit of replay value with a lot of minicons to collect and experiment with. Now the bad. The story is fun, but it's very, very simple and not super deep. It's got some very mixed voice acting, with the exception of Optimus Prime and Megatron. They're great, but the rest of them not so much. The camera is extremely annoying, especially in combat, and there's a lot of situational minicons, and some that are only useful for specific levels. Well, overall though, if you're a big Transformers fan, I'd recommend giving this a go. It's a solid action game for the PlayStation 2, definitely worth checking out. I grabbed my copy for about £4, so it's not expensive at all. However, if you do decide to play it, tell me how much fun you have with the tidal wave fight. I'll be waiting on your rage comments down below. So yeah, that's a wrap on today's video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all on the next one. FIRESHOCK out. Oh, and one last thing, fuck you, Tidal Wave, you big bastard.
Fuck you!